today's world that we are. And I'm also excited that as youth, as students, we are discussing this very important issue. So normally you have, how do you call it? People who are not, decision makers, or people who are old, like in the context of Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, and all these people moving for Pan-Africanism. But it's also great to have students move for Pan-Africanism. Let me quickly share my screen. So I have my thoughts in a PowerPoint presentation so that it makes the whole process easier. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Perhaps the technical team will have to make you co-host so that you can share your screen.
I think they have. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, it's disabled. Okay, then let me just walk you through it. So, as has been mentioned, Pan-Africanism is a movement that unites all us as Africans. But then also education plays a very key role when it comes to Pan-Africanism. And in this presentation, or in this submission that I'll be doing, I'll focus on the harmonization of higher education across the continent and the opportunities and challenges that has been seen, as well as initiative that has been undertaken by key organizations in order to move for a harmonized education system across Africa. So in the context of or connecting Pan-Africanism with education harmonization, you could understand that you could see that it is an intertwined vision. So both Pan-Africanism and harmonization of our education seeks to empower young people across the continent, or generally people within the continent. And as Pan-Africanism seeks to promote unity, solidarity, and socio-economic development, harmonization of education also aims to foster regional integration, knowledge sharing, and quality education for all. So what then do we mean when we say harmonization of education? This refers to aligning all education systems across the sub-region in terms of curriculum, in terms of standards, or in terms of quality assurance. So this means that the aim of harmonization is to foster collaboration, mobility, as well as quality of education across the sub-region. Harmonization of education comes with loads of opportunities for young people within the continent. And some of these opportunities, connecting it to Pan-Africanism, is to promote African identity and heritage. Because you understand that once we have opportunity to study across universities in Africa, it enhances regional integration and collaborations, as well as cooperations among students. It also gives the opportunity for us to have a common understanding and share value about Pan-Africanism. Also, harmonizing education facilitates the mobility of students and professionals. So imagine a student from the University of Ghana could have the opportunity in order to study in Lagos University or Addis Ababa University. And this creates opportunity for us to improve or help to integrate across boundaries or across borders. So you could see that we could have a common understanding about heritage as Africans, and also support the main or the broad vision or the core principles of Pan-Africanism. As you also know, harmonization of education serves as a catalyst for socioeconomic development, because in this regard, there's knowledge sharing and there's opportunity for students to exchange ideas and knowledge. And this is also a core principle of Pan-Africanism. So this goes to emphasize the point that I made earlier on, that Pan-Africanism and harmonization of education has an intertwined vision and moves together in order to promote the heritage of Africa. In harmonizing education across Africa, there has been some challenges that has been faced by organizations that are moving for this initiative. A few of these challenges I'll be mentioning. Some are socioeconomic disparity in education infrastructure. So the education infrastructure in some universities are not adequate enough to promote harmonization. Some universities do not have the quality assurance frameworks developed in order to allow for smooth transition of students or mobility of students across university, or harmonization of courses. Example, if you take a private university in Ghana, so I'm not going to put names, and a public university in Ghana, you could see a broad disparity in terms of educational infrastructure. This hinders the harmonization of education across the region or within a particular country. Another barrier we've seen based on research is language. Language is a key issue when it comes to regional integration and Pan-Africanism and harmonization of education. So you take a country like Nigeria or Ghana, and it's being surrounded by Francophone countries. So in order to move into these countries, or in order to have a regional integration in terms of economic and education, there is a big gap when it comes to language. And it doesn't aid mobility of students or professionals across board. As well as other factors could be resistance to change, and also the lack of political will and strong institutions to facilitate this. Despite these challenges, some organizations and institutions have had initiatives in order to overcome these and also to promote Pan-Africanism as well as harmonization of education across the region. Some of these initiatives that I'll be mentioning are the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework. So this is a quality assuring framework that is across countries within the continent. And this aims to have a structured framework for all universities across the continent, so that students and faculty members could move regardless of where they are studying. So imagine if we have an economic course being taken at the University of Cape Coast. Students can migrate from the University of Cape Coast to University of Kenyatta University and continue with a course that he or she is doing without any challenges. This framework seeks to achieve that. There's one initiative also called the Tuning Africa Initiative, and another initiative which is championed by the Association of African Universities as well as its partners, which is the Harmonization of African Higher Education, Quality Assurance and Accreditation. This also seeks to have a harmonized quality assurance framework across the region, and also to facilitate mobility of students and faculty members. So you can see, let's say there is a high-level faculty in a medical profession in the University of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, such that there is also not that caliber or quality academic, let's say in a university in Nigeria. Through this framework, we could have these faculty members moving freely across university without any challenge. So these are some of the initiatives that have been undertaken by regional bodies as well as continental bodies. And the movement is such that it is done at the institutional, national, regional, and then the continental level. There has been some successes, which I'm going to mention, or case studies of a successful harmonization of education across the region, which is the Inter-University Council for East Africa Student Mobility Program. So with this program, the students are able to move freely without paying school fees across universities in East Africa. There's a SADC Student Mobility Program, which also ensures the free mobility of students within the South African region. And we all know also about the WASI examination, which is being undertaken in West African region. There is another program which has been also successful, which is called the AERC, African Economic Research Consortium, which comes or brings together all economics studies or programs across the region and in a harmonized way. So where the conversation is going is that all these approaches aim in order to foster Pan-Africanism and regional integration across the region. So I'll pause here and then allow my colleague speakers to also share their thoughts on this very relevant topic. Thank you very much, and over to you, Samuel.
Right. Thank you so much, Samuel, for the great initial remarks. I'd want to quickly, before I move on to the next person, just to quickly ask you a follow-up question that in all that you've said, how do you imagine that students and young people can be actively involved or contribute to improving the quality of education? And that is being a part of the harmonization process across African countries. I say this to also provide information that, for instance, ASU has been a part of the Haka initiative, that we serve on the advisory board for the Haka initiative. And we've been trying to, as it is, get young people or students to be involved in the quality assurance and harmonization processes, right? For instance, we are trying to launch a project that seeks to train students as quality assurance experts in the context of higher education. But outside of this, how do you imagine that students and young people can be involved in improving the quality of education and also fostering the harmonization processes across African countries?
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, I was on mute. So one of the key things is what you've actually mentioned. So across sub-Saharan Africa, we have student unions. So and these student unions are being led by, let's say, the SLCs, if you come to Ghana, we have the Ghana Student Union and all that. These are unions that have voice. So in a collective voice, students can move for harmonization of, education across Africa. So the movement is not only from university administrators or at the regional bodies who are, promoting or advocating for this, but students also have a role in advocating for some of these initiatives to be undertaken. And I would say the student body, the student coming together as a body could facilitate this. And we could do this through our SLCs, through our student union, through the ASU and student councils. Also, one aspect that students can support is through research and advocacy. So as graduate students within university or as students at the undergraduate level, there is an opportunity to conduct a research. And in order to support the whole initiative, we need to provide evidence and data. And students can play a key role in supporting the government with evidence and data. So you are advocating for harmonization of education, but then if you back it with evidence, if you back it with data, then policymakers will understand and move for these initiatives. So I would say these are the two key ways that students could be involved in the harmonization drive. Thank you very much, Samuel.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Samuel, for that. I think it's great hearing from you, especially as you've previously worked with Association of African Universities and now also with Education Sub-Saharan Africa. So thank you for taking the time to share your perspectives with us. Quickly, I would want to move on to Ms. Jessica. She is the Secretary for Women Development at the National Union of Ghana, and she's been doing an amazing work trying to bring together women from across the country to be able to deliberate on various issues that are of importance to women and girls in the country. So, Jessica, if you can hear me, I would want to give you the floor to give your initial thoughts about what you imagine gender equality means within the context of Africa, and maybe specifically look at the case of Ghana, since you are based in Ghana. As I say, if you can hear me, you have the floor.
Hello, someone, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Jessica, loud and clear.
Okay, so a very good morning to everyone. I would have loved to share my screen, but unfortunately, I'm at work and the environment isn't permitting me to do so. So I would want to talk with my screen off. I must say I'm able to be on this call to join fellow colleagues, across Africa to deliberate on such a topic. I quite heard my colleague speaker did say, yes, I agree. I think in relation to Pan-Africanism, hardly would you hear young people of our ages discussing or deliberating on such a topic. Because if you are to look at the histories and likes, most at times or most often, the people we have seen leading such a movement are, adults. And so I think it's high time we, the youth, involve ourselves in, helping with the Pan-African movement. And I think I must commend ASU for, putting up such an initiative. I think it's a right step in the right direction. I would want to channel my conversation basically to the challenges in educational sectors and opportunities in educational sectors. Of course, not leaving gender equality out. When we are talking about the opportunities available in the educational sector in relation to gender equality, I believe affirmative action is something we cannot leave out of the conversation. For me, I say affirmative action is a positive discrimination towards creating a push for women in all spaces. And I believe our country's a tertiary institution, specifically University of Ghana, has started something in that relation, having a cutoff point that sets cutoff point for entry. So when we have to take the medical school, for instance, the cutoff point entry for the females are different from the cutoff point entry for males. However, I think it's not enough. There is a lot more that we could do in relation to gender equality. And then again, I think with the loose constitution, a position like the NUC Secretary for Women's Development has been stated clearly that that office should be occupied by a woman. And so we could see some sort of affirmative action in there, such that, for instance, if the 11 entire executives of the National Union of Ghana students happen to be a male, at least we have one of the positions, which is the Secretary for Women's Development, that has been set aside for women. So by hook or crook, we would certainly have a woman, occupying that position. And then again, so I want to add voice on what do we call it? The challenges. I think one of the challenges we are facing in relation to gender equality has to do with the misconception around the whole conversation. I mean, taking a concept like equity versus equality concept, I believe now the conversation should be more of gender equity than equality, because I share in one illustration that Madam Louisa Tajiman did mention during one of her presentations. She said, for example, having an 18-year-old man and then having a pregnant woman, these two women being drawn to a race. Or for instance, we have a pregnant woman, and then we have an 18-year-old man set on for a race. I mean, it's more likely for the man to, win that race, because looking at their conditions, clearly you could tell that one is basically fit than the other. And so if we are to use equality there, then it means, of course, we are giving them the equal opportunity to start the race and then giving them equal responsibility and all. But the point is, will that really solve the issue or the conversation about gender balance? No. So that is when equity would have to, set in to, bring some sort of balance. I mean, in as much as we are fighting for the fact that we should have gender equality and equal opportunities and responsibilities should be given to men. I feel it should be given to both sexes. I feel the conversation should be shifted a little to gender equality than that of gender. Gender equity than that of gender equality. And I also want to make a submission in relation to some challenges which has to do with the sexual predatory. Most women in schools or girls in schools are subject, and teachers, and I mean colleagues of myself, are subject to, this sexual harassment and the likes. In the worst case scenario, sometimes, for instance, let's say two people engage in an affair, a boy and a girl engage in an affair, and through the affair, let's say the woman gets pregnant. Clearly, the man or the guy can continue with school. But in the worst case scenario, sometimes authorities would even, demonize the students or sack the female from school. So clearly, you could see that there are a lot of factors that are really hindering gender equality or equity as a whole. Because if authorities are able to sack the lady for being pregnant, and for that reason, that female would be able to further education. Have we thought about the man? Free in this. I think it's also a conversation that we should also have. And then again, I think the cultural structures also plays a very big role in gender equality, in Africa at large. For me, where I grew up, I am the only female amongst two males, and I can't remember clearly there was a day that my parents, I think I'll have to share the story. I didn't intend to, but I think I have to share the story. There was a day that fufu was ready. I mean, those who are African, like Ghanaians on this call know the meal fufu. So fufu was ready, and I was at home. I was actually at home, and my mom asked me to go and get my brother come and pound the fufu. That's why the fact that I was present. She felt that there were some roles that has been clearly designed for males, and some have been clearly designed for females. So she didn't want me to do it. We had to wait for my brother to come for wherever he was to come and pound the food. Okay. A similar incident also happened where my brother said he was hungry, and I was asked to get to the kitchen and ensure that he gets something to eat. So the question now is, the way we have been raised up has made us to believe in certain ways. The way culture is, placing certain things in our society has made girls and boys to behave and act in a certain manner. Imagine walking to a restaurant with a meal, and then at the end of the bills, the female is expected, or society expects the male to foot the bills. And then in an instance where the female foots the bills, people would be of the impression that, I mean, why was the lady supposed to do that? And it's a duty of a man and all that. So, generally, society is making us, perceive certain things in certain manner. So I think cultural structures also plays a very vital role. And then I believe the economic struggles too also should be looked at in terms of challenges in relation to gender equality in the educational sector and all. Menstrual hygiene or menstrual sanitation is something that is very dear to my heart. And I cannot be on this call without saying anything about it. I believe now the prices of sanitary towels or pads are extremely high, looking at the VAT components and then the export duty components on these sanitary towels, making it so expensive for girls to, patronize these sanitary towels. And when we are to take a boy and a female, clearly males do not menstruate, but females do menstruate. And then have we asked ourselves the economic struggle that one female child needs to go through in order to acquire the sanitary pads? However, these both sexes are supposed to be in school. And so if the female have to, have extra costs buying sanitary towels during the menstruation period, some, painkillers has to be bought and other things. I believe in a long run constrains the female's ability to be in school, because if the individual does not get rights or access to quality sanitary towels, materials, in the long run, it will make the student be out of school or absent him or herself most often. So I think that should also be looked at, or that conversation should also be considered. And I believe in the same relation to the cultural structure. I think teenage early marriage is something that we should also be discussing, because if we are talking about the challenges that constrains gender equality, then early marriage should also be looked at, because in most African countries, you see these young girls of school-going age forcefully, being forced to enter into marriages that they wouldn't want to. And then you could clearly tell that at that time, those times should be the ages that they should be acquiring education, knowledge, and all that. And if this individual or this child, this young girl, is being forced into marriage at that tender age, then it means the ability of that young girl getting access to quality education, it's also less. And so these are also things or challenges that I believe constrains the girls in terms of gender equality and then education in Africa at large. I would want to pause here and then take other submissions from my colleague speakers. Over to you, Samuel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. That was a very powerful presentation. Thank you so much for sharing your many varied experience. And indeed, most of the gender issues that we face as a continent are mostly culturally entrenched. And hopefully with people like you, I'm sure we'll be able to change the narrative to be able to ensure that young women and girls are able to live up to their full potential within our society. So thank you so much, Jessica. Only that I would want to follow up with a question similar to what I asked Samuel. What do you imagine that in trying of young people, young students, young women, young girls in changing that narrative? This is Scott. Hello?
Hello, hi. Yes, thank you.
Yes,
thank
this is
you.
Scott. Did you hear my question?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I think we cannot do away with, bringing all hands on board, because this conversation or this fight, it's something that we are not going to be the first people to initiate it. There are conversations that have gone on over and over and over and over again, and it's still going on. So the question here should be, how then do we also start a conversation or add voices to the conversation for it to yield results? So then you will come back to getting all hands on board. Currently, I think ASU is running a project, that the Keep a Girl in School project, a project that is going on in 5 African countries, of which Ghana happens to be one of the countries, and I happen to be the country lead. And so in relation to, combating the issue of sanitary towels, we've rolled out a project dubbed the BRAPA campaign. And this project is in 3 folds. One is to advocate for the reduction or the scrap off of the taxes on the sanitary parts. 2 is to educate young girls on menstrual hygiene and sanitation. And then 3 is to distribute free sanitary pads to these young girls. Why am I bringing this project in line? I'm bringing this project in line because I believe it's high time we join forces with other union bodies. And so clearly with this project, we are not just on it with ASU. We have USAG on board, we have GAPS on board, we have PUSAG on board, we have GASAG on board, we have TAG on board. And so if finally a petition is being sent to the Gender Ministry or the Parliament, and we have all these blockheads championing the same cause, it goes a long way to let governments know that, hey, yes, we've heard people talking about sanitary pads, sanitary towels reduction over and over again, but I think their voice is becoming stronger and hitting more. So it's high time government has to do something about it. But if we are to treat these issues as issues of that concern one individual, one body, one organization, then it's going to be a problem. But if all student forces are coming on board to hit up on that issue, it creates a sense of, urgency for government to know the need to, come into our intervention. So yes, I would plead with each and everyone to, start something in your own small way, and then get other people to come on board. Once there is unity, it's going to go a long way to make sure that our voices are being heard, and not just being heard, but our concerns are being acted on. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jessica. One of us, as all of us, any issue that affects any one of us affects essentially all of us. And hence, when we are advocating for or against anything, it has to be a collective responsibility. Thank you so much, Jessica. Quickly, I would move on to our next speaker in the person of Ms. Muthoni Kariuki. She is an environmentalist, climate activist, young career journalist, and a creative as well. She is the founder of Green Age Warriors, an initiative that advocates for justice, equality, inclusion, and equity across as all aspects of life. She also advocates for girls, women, and youth empowerment, mental awareness, and conservation. So Ms. Kariuki, if you can hear me, you have the floor to tell us or to share your experiences about climate actions or climate advocacy within the context of Africa.
Hello, Samuel. Can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Greetings from Nairobi, Kenya. We say jambo in Nairobi. That is Swahili. In Kenya, we say jambo. So I say jambo to every one of you. My name is Noni Kariuki. Official is Muthoni Kariuki. We shorten that to Noni. And I am Miss Tourism Africa from Kenya. So apart from that, I am a young career journalist. I'm also a climate champion and an environmentalist. And I'm also a creative, where now under the creative is where I get to do things like modeling, which led me to being the first Miss Tourism Africa. So let me take this opportunity also to acknowledge and appreciate everyone who has taken their time and the efforts to organize this platform, this very powerful, impactful and empowering platform, because we need such platforms to be able to raise awareness on the things that are affecting us and to help find sustainable solutions. So let me start on the context of climate. I come from a small village in Eastern Kenya, in a place called Kiambere in Embu County. So partly growing up country, I was able to interact with my community, and I was able to experience firsthand the effects of climate change, the effects of the climate crisis in my community. Now, these marginalized communities and rural communities, they face all types of injustices: political, climate, environmental, social, economic. They're just, sidelined, and then these issues will take forever to be aired. And coming from this community, that one thing was constant. I could see that my community was struggling, but at that point growing up, I still couldn't understand what was happening clearly. I couldn't put climate change into context. And I was going to school, but then again, there was nothing we were learning about, what is happening in our community and how we can help, solve that. We were just learning the general, things that are in the textbook, like, climate of this area, climate of that area. We know this is an arid or a semi-arid, but they were not. One thing though, I loved, planting flowers and planting trees every now and then, grass, and I would envy when we travel to the upper part of our county, which is a bit green. I would envy them. and then now we are having to come back to our place, which is like an arid and semi-arid, I'll say. I would wonder what's happening, but at that point, still again, I could not see someone. I didn't know what's happening. I didn't see someone maybe doing something. So it was just normal, like maybe this is our fate, this is just it, no action was happening. So I didn't get that mentorship or to see my community acting on it. And this came a bit way later. I went to high school again. It's the same normal, we are just learning again whatever has been put in the textbooks. And then went again to campus, and it wasn't until, and still I wasn't being taught what to do or what is happening until I became aware. I started having that greater purpose in life, finding that life is about so much more, and finding that I have a purpose to make a difference in the community, to be like a servant leader, to use my platforms. And I got this inclined to environmental causes and climate action, and being a beautiful, you're able to get a platform that helps you be able to bring solutions. And I realized that I was not taught. My community they were the ones who were interacting with this problem, but they were not doing something. So getting to know more about climate change and the environment and things like that, I realized that our stories were being told by other people. For example, this was a big problem, because you talk to someone about climate, about deforestation and things like that, the climate crisis, and they would say that is a white people's problem. And I'm like, why is it a white people's problem, yet we are the ones who are being affected? So I realized that we are the ones who are, our stories are being told, especially by people from the global north, would say, who have no idea of actually what's really happening on ground, yet we are the ones who are facing that problem. So I realized that the first problem we have is we do not have that awareness that we have the power in our hands. We have the voice to be able to raise, these problems and bring solutions. So as Africa, we need to be able to realize, first of all, have that mental shift, because it's a mental shift. We are still in modern slavery, which is happening now in our mind, that we need people to come and save us. We do not need saving. We have the power to be the difference. We have the power in our voice, in all our different interactions. We have the power to be the change, because the people who are closest to the problem, again, are the people who are closest to the solution. So I found my voice, and that became my power. So I started creating awareness. I founded my initiative, that is Green Age Warriors, where I started, empowering young people, and this especially in the marginalized communities, so that they are able to grow up being aware that you are in this community. So what can you do for it? Again, empowering the people in the community, because this community is facing drought, it's facing, famine, lack of water, excess heat, and yet they are the ones who are still cutting down trees. And you find that these communities are interacting with, they are blessed, to have this indigenous species of flora and fauna, but they are also at the front lines again of destruction. As humans, again, we also have that system of self-destruction, but again, they're not doing it for fun. Most of these people, for example, when they're cutting down trees and practicing deforestation, I interact with them, and I'm telling them, stop cutting down the trees, but they are like, what am I going to feed my family? Because they're cutting down the trees to burn charcoal, and then they sell. For example, a bag of charcoal will be able to provide something for like a week. But I'm like, that's a week. But again, after the tree is gone forever, we are losing this species. We are still making the situation worse. We have a hill close to my home, and I find people are encroaching the hill, going upwards for farming. And they think that now that is the greener pastures, which is not, because the higher we are going up the tree, again, we are destroying with the little chances we have of bringing rain, we are destroying that. So that was a big problem. So we need to create awareness, and we need to integrate, that relatable environmental and climate topics in the education system, because that is where the power is. I've been able to go all the way coming from such a community because I've been able to be given the power of education. I know what is right, I know what is wrong, I know what I can do to bring the solution. But it took a long time, because if I had been introduced to that when I was still in primary school, I would have grown up, with that knowledge and been able, and I know I would have made a bigger difference. So we need now that to be integrated from the lowest level of education, so that we have, and let it be relatable. We need to update all the systems. We need to relatable content, because the climate is changing. So we also need to change. We cannot be solving ancient problems with the same solutions and expect change. We need, there's a dot that we need to connect. So we need to know what's happening and update that, so that our children grow up with that social responsibility of taking care of the environment, and knowing that they have the power, not waiting for people to come tell their stories, being able to tell that story. I'm able to go down, create content, and tell and raise awareness on these issues that are affecting these communities. So we need that awareness, first of all, because that is our power that needs to be integrated into our African education system, into our schools, from the lowest level to the upper level. And that way we are all going to have individual and social responsibility. And this way we are going to, it's the little things that we do that are going, Professor Wangari Maathai said, it's the little things that we do as citizens that will make a difference. So we have to start now. Wherever you are, whatever you do something. And apart from that, we can also start doing that even in our homes. Let us bring up responsible children also, so that they are able to know that throwing trash around is not okay, or then they know that they grow up with the passion of planting trees. We let's not wait. Okay, the mistake has happened, but we are still the generation that is facing the biggest impact. But we are also the generation that has the power to be the difference. So let's not just complain. Let us start looking for sustainable solutions. As we talk to, yes, I am an activist, but let's not approach with the option of just throwing stones to be heard. No, we need to bring sustainable solutions. This is the problem. Come with the solutions. What are we going to do? For example, we need our youth and our children to be educated on climate and environmental matters around them, so that they're able to contribute effectively. So we need to tell our own stories so that we're able to make a difference. And I think that is it. As Africa, we have all the power. We just need to tap into that potential. Africa is a food basket. We are not supposed to be getting relief food from other continents and all. We can utilize solar energy. We can utilize wind energy. There's so much we can do to help our people become independent. We're not just depending on other people. We just need to have that mental shift that we are the one people closest to the problem, so we have the solutions. And this Africanism, that is our power. Let us just tap into that power and be the solution and be the change and realize our full potential. So mine is to urge every one of you, from wherever you are, it does not matter who you are or where you come from. If you believe in yourself, you have the power, especially the young people. Find your voice, find your power, and be part of the generation that will make a difference. So I thank you, and I urge us all, let us take climate action in our own small way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noni. Thank you so much for speaking very passionately about your topic. Clearly, you're truly an activist, and we are so happy to also hear from you. And absolutely, I do 100% agree. I think you made quite a number of recommendations that we should take keen interest in. For example, you talk about the inclusion of climate education in mainstream of the course you are taking, because that makes you better understand the issue, taking it from a place of understanding. And also, most importantly, you also did talk about the importance of all of us. I think that other speakers have also agreed to saying that we should prioritize that we need to tell our own story. We cannot let others tell our story, because, I mean, if you are sick, right, you understand better how you are feeling. And it's from that place that you can tell people the solutions, how it can be solved, what the issues are. We cannot let others tell our story, no matter what the story would be told. And hence, it has to come from us. So thank you so much, Noni. It has been a very insightful one, hearing you speak. I think at this point, we want to now hear from the audience. We'll be happy. We've heard from Samuel on education and harmonization. We've heard from Jessica talk passionately also about women, gender equity, not gender equality, gender equity. She spoke about a number of things as well. A number of recommendations, calling all of us into action. And similarly, again, Noni is also calling all of us into action, talk about climate education and others. So now we want to hear from you. It could be in the form of a question, it could be in the form of a comment, and we'll be happy to also take your reactions on that. I think I see a couple of comments already in the chat. Victor Otieno says, amazing. Nesha, I think it was in response to Jessica while she was, she reacted that she totally agrees, and that is very true, and also thanked her for saying all the things that she said. And Emerin also said, great outburst from Muthoni, nothing but passion for environmental sustainability and climate education. I absolutely agree. So now we want to also hear from you, your comments and your questions. We'll be happy to, if you want to speak, you can just unmute your mic, or you could just raise your hand and I would yield the floor to you. I hope I wouldn't have a quiet audience, because this space is our space. This is some of the space that we get to air our views, and we put them together in policy documents and share with relevant stakeholders. So please, we want to hear from you. I have Hilda, Mame, Memunatu. Okay, perfect. Emerin, I see your hand is up. Please, you have the floor.
Right. Thank you so much for giving me the floor. This has been a very interactive session, and I just came from another meeting, and I one thing that I learned was that I'd like to share with us is, as climate advocate or a climate activist, I think we should now go on and then put our advocacy on a much larger level. That is to nationally advocate for governments to come together to try to put certain organizations in place to focus more on circular economy. And this would actually try to put in everyone in the march of climate action and climate justice. So when we try to focus on circular economy, all and sundry are on board, because when it comes to trade, when it comes to the things that we use, it's what actually defines our lifestyle. And climate change is actually as a result of our local and personal decisions that we make. And as Africans today, I think that going back to adopt or practice the indigenous methods of safeguarding our environment is very key. So as Africans, or should I say Pan-Africanists in this regard, and also in the space of climate education or climate activism, we should go back and then pick the indigenous ways of living. Back in the days, we used to have so-called taboos or so-called practices that we may think are outmoded, but actually did protect our environment, did protect our culture, did protect our traditions. I don't think that Africans are traditionally, would I use the word dirty? as Mutoni was presenting, she made emphasis on us also bringing up very responsible individuals. So aside, the government could do whatever they want to do, but if charity doesn't begin at home, it's going to pose a lot of challenges. If the government says that do not litter, and at home we bring out children or individuals who are very disobedient or disrespectful, it's not going to really work. There's going to always be a clash, and this shouldn't be a very different or a changing transition. It should be very smooth. Let us to be on this platform of both climate and Pan-Africanism. I would encourage us to go back and then pick the indigenous practices that actually protected our environment, and together all of us could make a difference. Thank you so much, Samuel.
Thank you as well, Emma. I think I'll also take one thing from Emma, that it is the local solutions that can really be beneficial to solving the challenges that we face, and revisiting us and how it can help shape our future is very important. So thank you for that, Emma, as well. I think I see a comment from Victor. Victor is saying that climate action needs to be entrenched in our business model as CSR priority activities. Thank you, Noni, for stressing on social responsibility that needs a collective approach. Thank you as well, Victor, for sending that in. If anybody wants to take the floor, you could just raise your hand and I'll be happy to call you or to make a comment or to ask a question to any of our panelists. Anyone? I think that's what I have to be, that teacher that calls people out. I think I'll start calling people out. So Bismarck, if you can hear me, would you like to make any comments or ask any question? I'm very sure Bismarck can hear me. Or Ellie. Ellie, if you can hear me, would you like to ask any question or make any comments? Hilda, Memuna, Naya, Rexford. Yes, Rexford. Would you like to ask any question or make any comments? Venetia, Veronica. I think Venetia has already made a comment, but it would be great to hear your voice actually. Or Victor. Victor has also made a comment, but it would also be great to hear your voice. Okay, if there are no questions, then I would want to go back to our panelists to make their final comments as we bring the plenary to a close. So I think I would go in this order: Samuel, Jessica, and then last but not the least, Miss Noni. So Samuel, if you can hear me, could you please take the floor to make your closing remarks?
Yeah, thank you very much, Samuel, namesake. So I think this session has been a very insightful one, particularly for the sessions that my colleague speakers have talked about, climate change and gender equity, which are very serious issues within our society and within our educational structures. Coming to the topic that I talked about, harmonization of education. So with this, it is a really good movement by a student body like ASU, to champion from that aspect. And it's refreshing to hear that ASU is part of all these continental initiatives and regional as well as national initiatives that are ongoing. I hope, similar energy will also be channeled towards gender equity as well as climate education, because all these fit within the educational structure across the sub-region, and connecting the dots, or having a regional balance or integrated approach will lead to the outcome that we all desire. So thank you very much once again for having me here. And let's keep on burning the flame of Pan-Africanism. Over to you, Samuel.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Samuel, for your final remarks. So Jessica, can you hear me? If you can you please take the floor to make the remarks?
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, I think it has been an amazing conversation so far. Personally, I've learned a lot from co-speakers and then participants on this meeting. I would want to start by saying, I think mindset, we should all have a look at our mindsets. We should really have a reorientation about how we think, how we perceive things. Because if we are unable to change our mindset towards certain things, it's really going to, go a long way to affect the whole gender equality and equity process. It's how you perceive things, how you see things, initiate how you even act upon things. So let's actually work on our mindsets and see this world as not a man's world, but a world for all. Because if it was a man's world, we would have had only males in the world. Since we have both males and females, means it's not a man's world. And so whatever every female sets her mind to do, she can achieve. It's all about the mindset you have. And then I also want to touch on preparation. In as much as we are talking as giving equal opportunities to females, doesn't take away the fact that they should be prepared, because you always have to be prepared to meet opportunities, and prepared places are for prepared people. So the fact that we are talking about giving equal opportunities to women, letting them excel and all that, it doesn't take away the fact that we have to be prepared. If you're a woman on this call, always be prepared. Build yourself so that when the opportunities come your way, you'll be able to grab them. When you are not prepared and the opportunities come, you wouldn't be able to pick them up. And that is what let the males always stand an upper hand over us. Because if they are learning and you are not learning, the opportunities are there. Of course, we give it to the one who is capable. And so we always have to have a look at our preparation. And I think, lastly, I want to wrap up with association. Association really matters. Your association is key. Okay, the people you associate yourself will actually tell how you think, how you behave, even the kind of opportunities that will even come your way and all that. So please, let's be careful of our association. Let's have right associates so that it could actually push us to do more. And finally, I want to end by saying you are never too small to make a difference. Regardless of where you find yourself, you are never too small to make a difference. Don't feel too comfortable in your comfort zone. Step out, push through the pain, and make an impact. Thank you so much. It was nice being here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jessica. You are never too small to make a difference. We are happy to hear that. And I think in this room, we would all agree that we will no longer subscribe to James Brown's song when he says it's a man's world, as Jessica has indicated. So thank you so much, Jessica, for that amazing closing remarks. We will now move to Noni to also give her closing remarks. Noni, you have the floor.
Thank you, Samuel. I know earlier on maybe I might have missed, the presentations. I found, I think, Miss Jessica wrapping up, but even from their final take, I can already tell, we this was a really quite impactful platform, and we are the ones who have the solutions, so we have once again, let me also thank the organizers for this platform, because you might find we have all the solutions, but we don't also have the platforms. And as Miss Jessica said, let us be prepared so that when the platforms comes, we are prepared to take that, to take that power, and that's in our voice. And I said, find your voice, find your power. So it does not matter in what area of life you are in, you can make a difference. Be a leader in whatever life, if you are a creative, if it's in professional side, across all gender, across all age groups, across all aspects of life, we can make a difference in our own small way. Just find your voice and find your power. And also association, again, as Ms. Jessica said, associate yourself, with the right platforms, so that, alone you can find your voice and make a difference. But again, as Africans, we say we need to move together to go further. So, and at this point, we need, action now. We need immediate action. If we need everything whatever we can do to come together to bring that change, we need it that right now. So we need to come together. Let us, as Africans, we've had that, mentality of what is it called? I'm trying to get the word of, scarcity mentality, where we think that if I share with someone else, maybe they're going to take away the opportunity from me. But in this case, we need everybody on board. We cannot afford to, suspect each other. We just need to come together, find that power as Africans and move together. We are unique, we are diverse. All of us, we are diverse, but that diversity is what should unite us and power progress. So find your voice, find your power, and it does not matter who you are or where you come from. Believe in yourself, and you're going to be a difference. You're going to be unstoppable. So act now. Find your voice, find your power.
Find your voice, find your power, and act now. Thank you so much, Noni, as well. I think today I have really loved all of my speakers. It's been good hearing from you from different perspectives, from different interests, and also from different backgrounds. But of course, one thing has been true, that you all share in the thought of young people coming together to work together in pursuance of the things that we prioritize in the space of access to quality education, in the space of climate actions, in the space of gender equity as well. So thank you so much for joining in today to share your amazing perspectives. I think before we close, I would want to yield the floor to Mr. Victor Otieno to do the closing remarks. Victor, if you can hear me.
Okay. Am I clear?
Yes, you're clear.
Am I clear? Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so let me just continue. Okay, so I'm so grateful for the wonderful speeches that has really gotten me thinking of how our continent is diverse from different viewpoints, and truly I've learned a lot. And I just want to say that the Pan-Africanism of which we speak of today is so unique that it needs our collective responsibility, and it needs us to capitalize on our diversity, just as Noni has said. And I know last week we were with Noni in the Pan-African Congress. I saw her in the Pan-African Congress, African Liberation Day. And I know that our journey towards the unity of Africa is inevitable for now. But if you can see Africa from South Africa to North Africa, there's nothing that can unite us apart from Pan-Africanism itself. Because even now, our economies are almost crashing, like they are crashing all into deep down. And the power that we hold as young people is to know that if we capitalize on ourselves, because we are the first resource that the continent has, and this is the resource that if you're able to turn into value and take this power as a first priority, because I see us, the youth, as like our population is becoming more youthful, more joblessness, and we feel that we all need jobs. But also, if we say we prioritize ourselves as the first resource, in not just adding our voices, but speaking against critical factors that are dimensionally affecting us. I know it is so far much beyond to our thinking that our continent might be having shadow governments. Let me just say this way, because this is Pan-Africanism. But the truth is, the problems that we are the only people who can cure it, but only with a collective purpose, vision, and action. I'm so happy with the work that is being done by the Manasseh. I saw the last time they had a proposal on the Pan-Africanism concept, and it's really amazing how we are making step as student union leaders in terms of bringing the concept to leverage our power and our potential in making true change. So the journey the journey had started in the historical context, but for now we only need to stress on the two concepts. How can we elevate our people economically using the Pan-Africanism concept, and also act on the mental reconstruction, because these are very big issue. You can be speaking with an African with a European mind, so it can't get you, including our leaders. So we need to have a collective responsibility, and prioritize our economy more than anything else. I know in most cases, as student union leaders, we always told to be like people who are only advocates, civic based, but we can do much more than this because we are the only people who are holding the power of the continent. Africa has over 10,000 tertiary institutions. If this tertiary institution can speak for one voice for the economy of South Africa, it cannot take 1 year before that economy transforms. It's true, only that we don't have that structure already laid out. So I really speak this so that ASU should have a local approach that can at least make sure that every part of the continent is feeling the effect of our programs, and as that local and global, so that we can be having a layout that is going to bring the true image of Africa. This economy can transform in 1 day. We are not going to be a society that only all the products that we have are majorly foreign. We don't produce, we consume, we have loans. All these things are going to be inflicting true pains and even causing the future of our employability to be something that we can't imagine. So we have a big purpose as student union leaders, because we are the people holding the power of tomorrow, but even the power of today, we still have it. So let us push something that will make our leaders realize that we also have the power to transform almost all our dimension of our economy and make sure that everything that you're going to do is going to be impacting everything that we have. So mine is just to push that, and I know we are going to still have a deeper conversational sharing and seeing how best we can make sure that we bring Africa to its level, and Africa to its real potential, and Africa to its real collective culture and responsibility. So I don't want to speak much, but that is all I wanted to share just shortly. But everybody, every day, at least just remember that the future, let me say, even for now, I don't see myself having anything that I can leave for my future children. Yeah, it's true. However much you can be having. So this power lies in every one of us. Everyone. Our diversity, however much different it can be, there's power in what you do. But if we connect all these and say that, okay, we have to transform Ghana. I know last week, the other time, we see 3 million, some trillion loans, I don't know, whatever. Like, all these things are, we should echo our economy, echo our mental realization, all these areas, climate action. Let us see all these taking shape in our small way of doing things. From there, things will go to that area of what we need to do. So that is what I wanted to share shortly. And I know we're going to still share much as we continue. Thank you so much, Samuel.
Thank you so much, Victor. That was indeed great. And I think I agree with some of the things that you did say. And indeed, we have to work together so that we can change the face of it. And it is indeed also true that this continent has all it takes to, turn its fortunes for the better. I mean, cases can be cited to, for instance, Tanzania, when John Magufuli became president, and so on and so forth. So true. We have all that it takes. We just need the political will to make change and to effect change as we expect it to be. So thank you all so much once again. It has been an interesting 90 minutes being with all of you to talk about Pan-Africanism in the context of education, climate action, and gender equity. My name has been Samuel Sasu Adontin, the lead officer on education and students' rights here at the All Africa Students Union. And I have been your moderator in place of Mr. Rexford Akron, who was supposed to moderate today, but due to other engagements couldn't make it. But thank you so much for making the discussion interesting. And I think we'll have a lot to write into our policy brief, which we can later share with you as well. So thank you once again for joining in, especially our speakers, and also, of course, most importantly, participants as well. So thank you so much, and we look forward to engaging you again in the near future. But perhaps before we leave, if people could turn on their cameras so that we could take an online group picture together, that would be great. Yes, I'm waiting for a couple of other colleagues to also turn on their camera so that we could take a picture. So I see, I see a comment from Vinesha that I want to read, but I want to be sure it's safe to read. That she's saying that the key issue is mindset, especially when it comes to gender equity and equality. Most men still don't believe in the feminism concepts, and yet we can't win without their support. As a gender activist, I still face a lot of resistance from the males. They feel attacked. And Jessica responds that feminism should be an all-inclusive party. Well, that is quite interesting. Thank you so much, both. So we'll take this picture. The technical team, can you please help us? They're waiting for Emerin, Bestmark, Ellie, Naya, Veronica, Venetia. Can you please turn on your videos? Eric, can you please help us take the picture? Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on. Yes.
Okay.
You're ready? Okay. Hold on. Everybody's saying, all the people are coming, so just a second.
Okay, Venetia, would I really love to see your face as well?
Oh, Venetia, you're traveling. Safe journey.
Okay, so James, it seems there's light behind your camera.
Right,
We want to
ready.
shift a bit.
You're all ready now.
If you guys don't mind, I can still.
We might.
Okay, so guys, we say Africa in 3, 2, 1. Africa.
Africa.
Bestmark, your voice is so boring, but that is fine.
Okay.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much. That's been great. And we look forward to meeting you again.
Bye.
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 Be in touch.
All right.